Hello, I'm Ducky Sherwood, and I'm here to talk to you about everything that you need to know about Kaggle in order to understand a Kaggle meetup. This is so that everyone has the same baseline of what you should know before you come to a meeting, so that we don't have to either spend time bringing you up to speed or have you go, what are they talking about? So first, what is Kaggle? Kaggle.com. It's a company that was recently purchased by Google that is a hub for data science activities. It hosts data sets, it provides a platform for running data science experiments, administers data science competitions, many of which have cash prizes, and provides communication tools for the data science community. And it's got a very strong learning component to it. It started out as a competition platform, and that's what this meetup focuses on, but its community/learning aspects are important enough that I want to spend a little time talking about that first. So Kaggle has cultivated a very strong community, and there's community-developed content in two places, the discussion forums and the kernels. Now, you may be saying, what's a kernel? Now, a kernel is really just a Jupyter notebook with Kaggle-specific extras. Just keep that in mind. It's a Jupyter notebook with Kaggle-specific extras. And some of you may be going, what's a Jupyter notebook? And if you don't know what a Jupyter notebook, you know how when you type Python at a command prompt, you can type Python in, hit enter to execute it, and the results will get displayed to you? That's a Python shell. And a Jupyter notebook is sort of like a Python shell on steroids. It runs in your browser so it can show pictures and graphs and even animations. It also lets you intersperse markdown text throughout the code so that you can document as you write. You can document your code as you write your code. Then you can save and share your notebooks with other people. So it's a great way to explore, document, and share information. Now, usually you have to run a Jupyter server somewhere to attach your browser to, but Kaggle will host your notebooks on their site for free just for signing up. This means that you can explore code and data in your browser, but the execution will happen on their site for free. It does have some limits, but they're pretty high, like 6 hours before your job gets killed. Right now it's CPU-based, mostly, historically, but they do have a GPU beta. And I should note that the most obvious Kaggle extra feature is that it already has competition datasets loaded. And not just competition datasets, it's got lots of different datasets available. So you don't have to spend the time to download it, and you don't have to pay the cost of storing it. Have I mentioned free before? So it's stupid easy to load a Kaggle dataset into a Kaggle kernel. Remember, it's a special Jupyter notebook. All you do is push a button. And then they have a lot of data science Python libraries already installed, so it's stupid easy there. You don't have to do that. There's a lot of sysadmin overhead that you just don't have to do. I forgot to mention, you can make your data set, your kernel, public or private, and they incentivize it to making it public. In particular, there's a cash prize for the best kernels. They pick one a week. And because people like to get money, or like the allure of maybe getting money, and because they like to share, and because it looks good on the resume and so on, people actually do make their kernels public. There are a lot of kernels, like 150,000 of them. That's 150,000. And these don't just cover competitions, but they cover all kinds of other data science topics also. So here's a screenshot of the top kernels by votes, for example. This one's about a competition. This one is just kind of a general machine learning topic, etc. The other community tool is the forums. Their UI isn't that different from anything you've ever seen before, but the content is impressive. competition participants in particular are very open to sharing what they're doing, even while the competition is going on to a surprising degree. And they have a strong anti-harassment policy, which is nice for members of groups who traditionally get harassed. Here are some recent threads related to the Google AI Open Images Visual Relationship Competition. You'll notice that the 2nd, 4th, 5th, 7th, 8th, and 45th place finishers posted summaries of what their approaches were. This is a lot. This is an unusually high number, but it's not that unusual. The other community, they also have some short courses, brief short courses that are free. So you'll see they have this very strong learning component to them. But they started out as a competition site, and that's what they do a lot of, and that's what they're most famous for, and that's what this meetup talks about. So let's talk a little bit about the competitions. The number of active competitions varies, but it's usually somewhere between 3 and 20, and then there's a much smaller number which have cash prizes, 2 to 5 at any given time. The competition page will list what the total prize is and what the deadline is. Usually it's 2 or 3 months to work on a competition, and prizes are usually split between about the first 3 or 4 teams, and then you have to split it with your teammates, of course. Now you'll notice that some of these have cash prizes, and some of them say that they are ongoing. And I can't read there, so I can't tell which ones are ongoing. But the ones that are ongoing means that they're kept around forever, and it keeps updating the leaderboard forever. So you can make a submission and get onto the leaderboard forever. If a non-ongoing competition has finished, you can still get Kaggle to score your entry, but it won't go into a leaderboard. The rules vary from competition to competition, but usually if you use any outside data, you have to disclose that publicly. Usually you don't have to disclose pre-trained publicly available models. Those are usually okay. Usually multi-person teams are okay, and usually you can share the code and data within your team or with the entire world, but not anything in between. Data, the competitions provide the data. Sometimes it's messy. Sometimes there's leakages. It's messy, but so is the real world. A bigger problem is leakages. Sometimes there is something about the data which gives clues that they didn't intend to. So one source of data leakages in the past has been photos, that maybe there's a timestamp on the photo, and maybe you notice that all of the cat pictures were taken on Wednesday and all of the dog pictures were taken on Thursday. In that case, it's really easy to tell the cat pictures from the dog pictures. You just look at the date on the photo. But that's not really what they were after. The good news is that there's so much sharing that usually leakages are publicized before the last rankings. And it would be better if they weren't there, but this is life. They have gotten a lot better about data leakages in photos, so that's good. Then the data will include training and test data. They will provide the answers for the training data, and the answers to the test data will be your submission, usually as a CSV. Pay attention to the submission format because people have lost points because the judging expected the submission to be sorted. If your submission score seems lower than it should be, try sorting it and resubmitting. You can usually resubmit several times per day. The data will be scored based on evaluation criteria given in the competition details under the evaluation menu item. Pay close attention to how the judging criteria penalizes false negatives and false positives, as that will affect how you submit, or it should. For example, if the evaluation criteria has a logarithm in it, it might punish incorrect guesses of value 0 very hard, because log of 0 is minus infinity. In that case, you should clip your values to no lower than 0.01 or something like that. Okay, leaderboards. There's actually 2 leaderboards for each competition. There's one called the public leaderboard, and that's visible always. And there's also a private leaderboard, which is hidden until the competition is over. The score that Kaggle reports to you during the competition is calculated with only a portion of the test data. But the final rankings are calculated with a bigger set of the data, sometimes all of the test data. This is designed to keep participants from overfitting the public leaderboard's data, and it can mean that people's rankings can change significantly at the moment when the final rankings come out, that their public leaderboard ranking is much different than their private leaderboard ranking. And the top entries frequently have a very tight distribution. You can see that the top 3 here are separated by 0.004, for example, and the top 5 by 0.018. This is in part because contestants talk about what they're doing. And so kind of everybody does the same thing. But one of the things that people do to get a last little bit of advantage is called leaderboard probing. By doing repeated, carefully crafted submissions, you can figure some things out about the data, about the test data. If you do this naively, it will probably overfit your data. But if you do it carefully, it will effectively increase the size of your training data set. It's not really in keeping in the spirit of the competition, but people do it anyway. And so that you should recognize that leaderboard probing is this thing that happens. If you're a repeat visitor to this meetup, you've heard over and over again that entering a Kaggle competition is a great way to learn. But I want to emphasize that Kaggle has great tools for learning even if you don't enter a competition. It was important to talk about the communication because even if you talk about a Kaggle competition by yourself, you're still not all alone. There's a whole community which will share information about what they're trying and what problems they're encountering. And they'll even help you if you're nice. Statistically, almost nobody wins first place in a Kaggle competition. And so people understand that. And so by and large, they're very helpful. And everybody helps each other. So I hope you'll understand that Kaggle is a good place to know, a good place to know about if you are going to do a data science competition. Okay, so that's the end of the first bit.